Hi, I'm Angela. I am Grandma's granddaughter and Louie's daughter. And one of the reasons that I love Grandma so much is because she gives the best Eskimo kisses. And I did not know they were called Eskimo kisses probably until a couple of years ago. I thought my whole life that Grandma and I had made up this thing where we rub our noses together. And we still do that, and I feel so loved and so special when I see her because obviously I'm older now, and to feel that kind of connection and to feel special like that, I don't know, I don't think you ever outgrow wanting to feel that way. And I love that Grandma has the ability to make me feel that way. I also love Grandma because she's an amazing storyteller. I hope that someday I can tell stories the way she does. I don't know that I have the memory for it. Her memory is so sharp, and she remembers the details, and she knows how to weave a story so that you're really interested in it and that you want to hear what happens next. So I love her for her fun stories. You've all probably heard the story of wire flowers. That's one of my favorites. And also, Grandma loves to sing, and she's always singing, she's always humming. But when I was a kid, she would sing us these fun songs that she learned when she was a little girl herself. And I have a fun memory of her singing this song about the president, which is, it's a non-PC song, and that's the way things were back then. I guess things are still non-PC in the privacy of people's own homes, but not so much, I don't know. But I remember her singing us these songs and just making us laugh. And hi. And also I love Grandma because she is a great cook. I can go to her house anytime and there's gonna be food, and if there's not food ready, she would make food for us. So she's just a very nurturing, loving woman. And I also love Grandma because she's such a hard worker. She worked well past the point that she needed to work. And I think that that's a great example to set. Being a hard worker and also raising children, great example to set. And I feel very proud that she's my grandmother. So happy birthday, Grandma. I love you. And I hope you have the best birthday. And I just want to keep sharing more with you. So happy birthday. I love you.
Hey Nana, happy 100th birthday. I just want to say that you're such a big part of my childhood, and I have so many fond memories of you. The memories that stick out the most are those that revolve around food. As the matriarch of the family, you nourished us with that food. And I really think back on the food that we ate, and it was really just simple comfort food. Things like beans, rice, tortillas, papas, and your homemade salsa. I don't think there was ever a time growing up where I left your house with an empty stomach, and can honestly say that you always made sure that the grandchildren were well fed. And I like to think that was especially true for myself. One specific moment that really comes to mind is when my sister Sonia and I spent the night at your house. That evening we went to the grocery store, and I remember Sonia and I begging you to each get us a quart of ice cream. And I think in the end you reluctantly agreed, but that was only on the condition that we ate all the ice cream before the next day when my parents were gonna arrive and pick us up. So I remember how excited we both were, and we didn't think that it would really be much of a challenge for either of us to finish. So needless to say, we had a lot of irrational confidence, and in the end, I don't think we were even close to finishing that ice cream. And really all we had to show for it was a couple of upset stomachs. So I think back on these moments and really all the time we spent with you, and I just have so much gratitude for everything that you did, and just a lot of appreciation for all the love that you showed us. And I think more than anything, I really felt that love through the cooking that you did and making sure that I was always well fed. So I think the best way we can honor that and honor your love is just to make sure that we carry that forward with the next Soleno generation. So with that being said, again, I want to wish you a happy birthday, Nana, and I love you so much.
So my favorite memory about Grandma's is that she always had musicals for me to watch when I came over. Like Shirley Temple movies, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Sound of Music movies. She even gave me My Fair Lady when I was a kid, and that exposed me to all of the musicals and the arts, and it's a huge reason why I still love them today. So thank you so much, Grandma.
One of my favorite memories of Grandma, when I was younger, my dad would drop me off for a few weeks in the summertime, and one year I was very into reptiles. I really wanted a gecko. So my Aunt Mary, hi Mary, brings home a gecko, and I decided to put it into a terrarium. And as soon as I did, the gecko runs up the side and out and escapes. Well, Grandma did not like this at all. I will spare the details, but it was either her or the gecko, and it wasn't her. So anyway, I still find that very funny to this day. And happy birthday, Grandma.
Do you remember that time I got sick? I was real sick. I was about 3 years old, and I was sitting in the high chair, and I was sick. I was sitting like this, and you wanted me to eat, and you said, Margaret, and you had just made some beans, and you said, Margaret, do you want some beans? And I said, no, Grandma, I don't want it. And I did, because I didn't like beans at that time. And then you said, just one bean. Do you remember that? Do you remember?
More or less, something that I would say.
And then I said, okay. And you brought me a little bowl, and it had the bean soup, and then just one little bean in there.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And then, do you remember we used to hold hands we would go to bed and we'd shut all the lights out, and I would get scared and I'd hold your hand, and I would say, Grandma, will you marry me? And do you remember that? And then I'd say yeah, and you would say yes, and then we'd go. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And we'd walk to bed, and we'd walk to the bed at night in the dark.
Yeah.
And I was scared because it was dark. Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember right there? You would cook, and there was a window. And I would stand on the couch. I think little Danny and I would stand on the couch and look through the window. And you'd be there cooking right there with the stove. Do you remember that? Yeah, and I'd look in there and go, watch you cooking.
And now you're doing the cooking.
I know, I'm so good at it. I learned from the best.